Okay. What are we gonna do today? I think we make a few updates to some of the assets I've already put together. Sounds like a good idea to me. Let's start with this missile turret here. Move some stuff around here. Dr. Fetus may or may not be in the house. What a name, by the way. Dr. Fetus. That's what you get, man. They saw your name on an internet message board and they said, fuck that guy. He's making fun of fetuses. I think that we're getting somewhere here. I'm just gonna have to redo all of the depth, which is fine. Doesn't take too long. Let's put it underneath the base. We're getting somewhere here. If you haven't watched any of these videos, these streams before, live or otherwise, basically creating pixel art for StarCraft 1. It's more or less what's going on right now. Not much of an oversimplification, honestly. Alright, Dr. Fetus is officially in the chat. He may have been there for some time and I just didn't notice him. In which case you can abort me or something, I don't know. Okay. It looks a little bit more concrete now, but I do want to add a bit more of a contrast for the stuff that's supposed to be like behind the base here. Maybe we can do it this way. We just paint a sort of brighter version of the texture that we already have over this area, we might be able to convince viewers that it's an extension of the base, and thus, I don't know. It's easier to identify as being like over the missile turret and having the missile turret more firmly established in the background. Could use a little bit more visual variety, but I think it did the job. There's our base. Oh, and my brother's also in the chat. Hi, Dad. Wait, is it a school day? Who even goes to school anywhere? That's for, like, 2-year-olds. Alright, I think we did it. Now I just gotta make it look destroyed again, like it was before I messed with it. Who likes missile turrets anyways? They just stick them on every island possible and make you destroy them all. Not very fun units, to be honest. Or buildings. This is, sometimes, most of the time, if you only see it for a short while, it's because I'm photoshopping some embarrassing message, one of my friends said, into a more readable format. Not that I'm constructing a false narrative or anything. It's just that sometimes they'll say stuff that's hilarious and embarrassing, and, but they'll say it after they sent another message, and the way Discord parses new messages makes it so that those go away, or like they join into the same message, so I just wipe out the old unembarrassing, uninteresting, unimportant message. And I cherry pick the messages, basically. So you're sick now too? What happened? Everybody's sick. Well, we have a guy named Dr. Fetus in the chat, so maybe he can heal you. Alright. I'm still not super satisfied with how that turned out. I think it needs a little more something. If we move the... move the turret a little bit further up since we have the real estate here on this image. Maybe that'll sell it a little bit better. Yeah, now we're talking. Alright, well, that's another lost patient for Dr. Beetle. Maybe it's the namesake. What if he's just a very, very young doctor? What if he graduated medical school while it's still inside the womb? You know? Makes perfect sense. Oh man, we're really bumping along now, man. Oh, what a life I lead. Holy shit. That is so retarded. What a goofy song this is. Pretty radical. I'm being sent weeb music to play on stream. I don't know if I'm brave enough to try that, honestly. you guys are into anime, just ask my brother for video game recommendations. You know what I'm saying? Alright, I need some crack. You guys into crack? I mean, for me, crack is like shorthand for cocaine, obviously. I don't snort anything that's not at least as white as me, so of course I'd never do crack. But G Fuel is pretty white, and it's pretty much crack, you know? So I'm into that. See, my brother knows what's up. He said G Fuel before I said G Fuel. I am G Fuel. I am Windows 10. Don't recommend anime games. That's like recommending torture porn or ISIS beheading videos or something. The same level of evil. Yeah. Listen to my brother. Alright, what are we doing? What else did I want to update? I felt like there was something in particular I wanted to take a look at. You guys can look at a gray, blank Photoshop screen for now. I don't know, I think most of the stuff looks pretty decent. I could make an extra photon cannon variant. Maybe clean up the fleet beacon a little. Which insane man are you talking about? That guy's not a fully grown man, just look at his name. He'll be a man eventually. Oh, fuck yeah. Sick beats. Alright, so let's make a list. We're gonna do insane almost baby. I like that. If you're so fucked in the head that you're insane before you're even born, you're me. Alright, anyways. Enough about my father, who is also me. We're gonna do photon cannon number 3. We're gonna do... Here, I'll put this shit on stream. Alright, photon cannon number 3. Oh, here, let me make the size a little bit more reasonable. Where is this size? Oh, right, it's OBS. So I just do this. Pod. Todd will slowly crawl his way up to the top of the screen. It's probably better if we put Todd down here. Okay. Todd is now on the screen. We're gonna do photon cannon number 3. Which means I need to actually open up my fucking source folder with all of the graphics. Let's get to work, boys. Where's my photon cannon? And let's load up the other two photon cannons for reference here, so we have some idea of the kind of art direction, or whatever you want to call it, that I was going for the first ones. See... Yeah, name right on the god, dude. The problem with my old assets is that I made them before I really knew what... like, I made them when I was still developing my Photoshop skills, so... The quality is typically pretty decent, but I would probably make better art if I redid them from scratch. I've updated them a little bit so that they're better than what they were in their very first iterations, but obviously that only gets you so far. So that's why I try to do something a little bit more special every time I basically, yeah, every time I do something like a new asset, I try to do something I haven't done before, even remotely. So, make it a little bit better, and then make it stand out from the other stuff. But not, it's tricky because when you're trying to match an art style, you don't want it to stand out too much to the point that it's jarring. You want it to make sense, surrounded by all of the other assets that you're going to throw down. So some of the updates that I'll wind up doing won't happen until I see this stuff in-game and decide, okay, I need to actually make some changes here for whatever reason. Okay, so in that vein, I think we're going to go ahead and grab the one that's fully opened up, ready to fire. Make it so that it was destroyed in the middle of firing. So like the top of it will be absolutely destroyed or something. And I'll use my supply depot number 2 as a base for this. And we'll see if we can get away with just a 2x2 instead of having this extra block here. I don't know what the fuck was up with that. Let's, there we go. Now we're talking. Okay. Now how are we gonna take this thing that's completely intact and from it make a destroyed shell of its former self? You may ask. I have given you permission to ask that question. You may do so. Let's put some more music on. Wah! There we go. I might wind up setting all of my techno music to 1.25 speed. Makes for an interesting listen, a very high-octane listen. So let's move these two parts out of the way, and then we're going to use the sort of docked version of the cannon to fill in the parts that we're missing. Somebody actually asked that question. Wow. Well, first you must belittle it. You're a stupid structure. See? Now it's already destroyed. It's gone. There's nothing for it in this world. Hi, Svetli. How's it hanging? Is that how you say your name? Is it Svetli? Alright, what do we want to... You know what we want to fill in is... We want to fill in a bunch of rubble so that it looks like it's really been absolutely destroyed. That's what I think anyways. So let's go ahead and grab some rubble. What do you guys say? Of course, you guys agree with me. I am the best Photoshop artist in the world, of course. And burn the shit out of this. Yeah, it's very easy. If you know where to target the enemy with where they're weak, you can easily, utterly destroy them. Okay. I'm not feeling this mix as much as I was feeling the other one. Move that off to the side. We don't need that right now. Okay, so I'm thinking like this photon cannon was in the middle of shooting at something, and then like a tank or an ultralisk or something just smashed into it and like buckled it and collapsed it. So it's all, you know, pushed in and stuff. So let's do that. Let's distort it so that it looks like it was absolutely destroyed. Okay. Tractors? It's too bad there's no Terran tractor doodad. Or even better yet, a unit that was a tractor. Just nothing. Forgot the T for Tony. I can't. There's no tractor for me to make. Or to sample from. I can't draw, you kidding me? Okay. Well, it's coming along. Let's see. We can make it look like this piece of scrap here just like flew off into the sunset. We'll just turn off the shadow for that one, and then I'll add more depth to it later on. Okay, let's take our turret. And for our turret here, we can sort of separate the base from the top. First of all, these should probably be way up at the top in terms of what they're above. Let's tilt it a little bit. Oh, nice. We've got plenty of space then. I thought we were actually going to be running low. Okay, so from the second cannon we have over here, let's just grab a piece of the turret assembly. Maybe not turret ass. That's probably not a good. Probably not a good title. Alright, cool. Now that's a scrap. Put it down here. So, okay. Awesome. I think that's probably all we need from this secondary cannon. So let's take a look at what we can do with these, like... I call these feet. They're probably not really feet. But, like, they're supposed to be like the base that clamps down onto the ground. Just underneath the left ring there. Anything we can do to make it look more buckled, I think, will continue to sell that fantasy or whatever. It's supposed to be a set piece that it conveys like that a battle has occurred. So as long as we can accomplish that, I think we'll be in pretty good shape. Because of the way Blizzard put the shadows originally, we kind of have to manually re-texture some of these things if we're changing where they are. Otherwise, the visuals don't make a whole lot of sense. Sort of like what happens over here. Because looking at it, you'd probably just assume it was any other piece of scrap. I mean, obviously I haven't painted on the depth yet, but eventually I will, and then it'll look even better. Where's my right ring? I was just editing it. Here we go. Won't mess around with this one too much, just make it a little bit displaced, and I think that'll, again, sort of sell the idea quite nicely. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable doing stuff like what I'm doing right now, where I'm actually painting over stuff. In the past, I would tend to avoid doing that. So that's neat, I guess. And let's take some of these little spire type things off of the turret and make them small little scraps, or maybe I'll just wind up removing them entirely. Okay. Where is our upper ridge? Upper ring? It's got some real funky music. Okay. Now I think we're ready for a little bit more rubble, and then we can start painting on the manual shadows. Let's go ahead and save, and I haven't done that in a while. Where's my Canon B? It's lost in a sea of layers. Alright, there we go. Now we can get rid of that. I almost feel like this should be brighter than it is. Let's see if we can break out the dodge tool. It's probably because I heavily desaturated it, which is not really the grandest of things, probably. Let's go ahead and change the album here. Sounds like something out of StarCraft 2, honestly. With slightly better voice editing, which is not hard to come by. Whoa, that's not what I wanted to do. Alright, so here's where we paint off all the shadows that would realistically exist, and also pretty big focus on aesthetics here, where maybe it wouldn't make the most sense to have the shadows facing this direction or cast in this direction, but it looks nice for readability and for making the graphic appear more accentuated. It also softens the visual significance of things like the rubble in the bottom part of the graphic, where I never really transitioned it into like something that would look natural by itself, but with the shadows it almost like fades out a little bit, so it's harder to you know, to tell that it never really gets anywhere. And you can also use this, obviously, to add a lot of depth to the asset, so that it makes it just implies, you know, height and significance of some sort. You can use it to add little details that I think make a big difference. And then we can use this to draw, like, cracks in the stuff to make it look... It's a more intense version of what I was just using, and it basically allows you to make the, you know, whatever you're editing look like it's just been absolutely destroyed in many capacities. It can, if you use it too much, it can fuck with whatever depth you've already achieved with the painted shadows. So you gotta use it with some level of understanding. So this is the... Well, it's about... Probably this is the resolution you'll see it in game. So this is usually how I like to take a look at it. Oops. That was the wrong thing. So... yeah, maybe around here. And now we can see stuff like... if we turn the depth off and on, it looks like a completely different graphic. That's how important that stuff winds up being. So... just as a demonstration. Let's actually move this over a little bit. Just over to the right. I think that'll be good. Maybe a little bit to the bottom as well. Just by one tile. Probably overthinking it a little bit, but, you know. Spend like 30 minutes on something, you don't want to just make it go away. Look at this guy. He's eyeing just like me. Oh wait, you guys can't see him. Never mind. Just know that there's a guy, and he's eyeing. That's all you need to know. That's a long shadow? Well, it's many shadows. The idea is that every object on screen is casting a shadow of some sort. Unless you're talking about this pitch black stuff. That's actually only there because the way StarCraft interprets tile groups is that every image that you export is going to be that long. It's just the height that varies. Well, technically all the images are the same height as well. So this will actually be two images in StarCraft's memory. It's the top half of 32 pixels high and 512 pixels wide. And then there's the bottom half, which is the same measurement. And because StarCraft interprets its tiles as 2x1 doodads, or two height, they always have to be the same height, which is one tile high in-game. But then they can be, I don't know how many times, 512 is divided by 32. I don't know what the fuck that is. But when you get that number, that's how many they can be in terms of width. Before StarCraft has to run off to another group of tiles in order to fit everything in. So that's what the black box is for. Because normally this would be filled... If this... Say this graphic was actually this long to begin with, we wouldn't need the black box. It would just be filled in. But since it's not, since it's only 2 tiles wide by 2 tiles tall, we don't need the rest of it. I've never actually made a graphic that was that wide anyways, because that would be fucking enormous. Like, the definitions, or you picture how big a command center is in StarCraft? That's probably like maybe a 4 tile by 4 tile structure, or a 3 tile by 3 tile structure. And what, 64, 128, what's 128 here? So what I've selected here is the width of a command center. Probably a little bit more than that, actually. So we're talking like 4 times the width and height of a command center if you were to fill this whole thing and make it as tall as it is wide. It would just be an enormous doodad. And you know what? I probably will attempt to put something together that's like that, just because I think it would be really cool to have this gigantic complex that's like built into the ground somewhere, but that's a mammoth task for another day where I'll spend like a week on a single doodad. And it'll be this enormous set piece. So there you go. Add a little bit of definition to some of these parts here. And then we'll move on to another asset. I don't know what we'll do next. Probably just update some of my stuff that I've already got. I mean, I guess it makes sense. My explanation probably does make sense, I guess. But the idea that that's a real thing in Blizzard's games just shows you how retarded they are when it comes to the code base level of their engines. Very goofy. Okay. I think we're alright. We can probably call it a call it done at this point. Let's go ahead and apply our palette to it, and we'll be good. Oh. StarCraft also uses a different palette for each tile set, so that can throw you for a loop sometimes. Like, I've processed this image with a tile set palette for the jungle tile set, because that's what these tiles are made for, but if I processed it for, say, the ice tile set, you can see how everything gets sort of fucked up because the terrain underneath it wasn't made for the ice tile set. It's just another instance of StarCraft's engine limitations. They've sort of addressed this in Remastered, but, well, I guess they completely addressed it in Remastered. Now there are no palettes used, and it's in full color, so nothing actually gets processed, no color details get lost. It's one of the advantages that I wish would be possible to do without a whole lot of engine overhauling in the older versions of the game, since Remastered is so heavily limited across everything else. But what can you do? Alright, so where's my P cannon? And don't make a joke about that. I'm very sensitive about my P cannon. Alright, this guy's just a bumble. What is he doing? Oh shit. What the fuck? Well, XD. Uh-oh, we might have edge. Close enough. Okay. Let's go to something. Okay, let's update my to-do list. Okay. Now I'm going to do a little something different here. Probably far less interesting. If I had to guess. We are going to grab some tiles here. Which means I need to open up the modding tools, extract them. So something I've been doing lately is finding all of the tiles for things like certain terrain types that are in the game. And then, if I feel like it's necessary, and it usually is, I go for an attempt to... Wow, there's so many fucking tiles. Holy shit, why? Why are there so many? Alright, so... That's a lot of assets, but whatever. Alright, get rid of them. Huh. This is way longer, I feel like, than the one that I had there, but whatever. So basically what I do here is, it takes forever, it takes like hours, but I cut out all of the grass that you see in the images so that I can then put this temple, like, terrain... I can put like high dirt or low dirt or any other tile type underneath it, and then I can put it anywhere I want in the map. It takes a long while to do, and nobody sane would attempt it, which is why I'm doing it. Oh shit, I forgot to... There we go. So this is usually the point, whenever I'm doing stuff like this, where I just, I hang with the viewers. No. We just chat about our lives. But I think my brother's the only viewer right now. So I'm shit out of luck. Since this is actually pretty uninteresting stuff, I may wind up stopping the stream. Oh man, this is gonna take so long. Oh, phone call. Okay, we're back. Sort of.
I remember just constant, absolute terror, and I can't explain how intense, how strong, how all-encompassing that terror is. Unless you do this, you're gonna get killed. You're gonna die.
Here I thought I got all the hard work out of the way when I just did the, when I assembled the ruins stuff and got that taken care of, since I figured ruins would have way more edges than this fucking shit. Boy, was I wrong. Look at this mess. Now, thankfully, some of these edges don't actually have any jungle that I can even delete, so it's not all in the end of the world. And these bottom ones are going to be a little interesting to work, since I've always implied these details like there were actual foundations of, something in the temple, but now I gotta sort of choose what I'm keeping and what I'm getting rid of, since clearly the foundations don't all exist. It looks really out of place now and looks really awkward now, but the idea is that eventually we'll get to the point where we obviously we put tiles underneath them and it fills in all those blanks that we're creating. We're really just creating the canvas with which to design a more diverse tile set. Oops. I'm into this mix. This is pretty cool. It's supposed to be like some Halloween mix or something. Halloween synthwave. I guess it works out, you know? I can feel it. Oh, here's where things get retarded. Holy moly. All these different pixel edges that I've got to respect by... like, picking and choosing what grass I'm cutting away, and there's also dirt mixed in with the grass for visual variety. So you want to try to not pick up any dirt, or you don't want to leave too much dirt, I guess. Like, this looks like it's dirt, but it's really impossible for me to tell for sure, since everything's so low resolution. Let's actually isolate the grass here. See, this is... oh, man, this is actually fucked up. I just realized I was cutting away, and this is, like, dirt. This isn't grass. I gotta change my whole paradigm of how I'm, like, thinking about this stuff now. I guess that looks more realistic. Yeah, I think that's more accurate. Jesus Christ, but I don't know how I'm gonna tell the difference between this stuff, though. That's... I cut away over here, so this must mean that this is mostly dirt. And they're so similar in terms of the tiles that it's really hard to know. I just don't want to cut away too many important details, but it's hard to know what is the important detail. This is actually way more challenging than Ruins for that particular reason. This is a good song, I like it. Very, pleasing. It's very easy on the ears, I'll say that. Jesus Christ, I can't believe this. Whoa, where am I? Oh, here we go. I'm sort of just cutting away diagonally at this point because it makes the most sense to me. Wow. That's rough. Let's actually get rid of this extra tile. What a disaster. Sounds like a knockoff version. Yeah, it's the it's like a synthwave version of like a something. I recognize the lyrics mostly, but it's clearly like a full cover as opposed to just like a remix or something. It's like a completely different vocalist, I'm pretty sure. Man, I don't know any of this stuff. Is this even... I'm probably just cutting away all tempo, honestly. At this point, it's so hard to fucking tell what's going on. How you hanging, hoop thrower? How's life? Okay, these darker bits. Pretty clear that these are supposed to be tempo bits, I think. Yeah. My brother was in here earlier and Dr. Fetus was listening to it and then he got drilled out of existence by his neighbors or something. I was actually about to kill this stream like a few minutes ago, but then I got sidetracked in doing this. Figure I'll try my best to endure until it's over. Did you manage to beat the 5th map yet? Let's get rid of this. Yeah, there's like not much tempo on this tile here. It is really retarded to try and kill them with hydralisks or anything. I think at that point though, you might be able to... I was able to actually kill it with hydralisks a few times, but the problem is that, like, I went hunter-killer, I got like 6 hunter-killers and a few Tarrasques, and then like 2 or 3 groups of hydras and zerglings. And I think that I was able to crack it and then destroy it, because before you... If you destroy the fleet beacon first, when you, you know, nobody's ever brought that poem up before. That's funny. If you destroy the fleet... The first structure you destroy is defended less aggressively by the AI. So after that, the AI gets a lot more resilient with its defenses. The poem he recites when he's annoyed is... Actually, it's like a reference to Peaky Blinders, which is the Netflix show that I found pretty compelling. It's about... you might have already heard of it, but it's basically set in Britain after one of those major wars. I think it was World War I, but I could be mistaken. It's been a while since I've watched it, so I don't really remember the context. But I think it was World War I, because he was talking about the tunnelers and the Battle of Verdun and stuff. So it's a really good show. I was pretty into it. And something that the main character, Thomas Shelby, says a lot when he's in tense moments or when the pressure is high, and becomes like a hallmark of his speech, is he'll say, "In the bleak midwinter," and that's all he says. It's a reference to a poem that was already written. In fact, I can just go and find out what it is. In the bleak midwinter. It's a Christmas carol based on a poem by Christina Rossetti. Let's check it out. Yeah, it looks like it's just a It's like a religious poem or something. So, it's not just the, like, I didn't just make it to reference Peaky Blinders, because My Chariot Awaits is not in the original poem. It's completely my own invention there. And my idea was, what I feel like the reference to that poem is, like, what I got out of reading that in the Bleak Midwinter poem is, sort of like, the quote itself in the Bleak Midwinter, it's like, that's when life is at its lowest point, when it's the hardest to live, I guess? Like, it's the hardest to find signs of life in the Bleak Midwinter. In the Midwinter itself is when more life than ever has been destroyed by, like, the natural order of things, where all the leaves die and the trees stop growing leaves and a bunch of flowers die and animals have to hibernate, so there's not much signs of life in that sense. So the idea that a chariot, which is the symbol of, like, royalty or status, it's like that's where the... It's also, you could interpret it a couple different ways, but that was sort of the idea behind it, is to make you think, like, where Goska's symbol of status is, so what he believes of himself, like, sort of meant to make you think along that way. And I designed it to be open-ended. I didn't want it to be, like, really obvious or cut and dry, because there's some people's interpretations that other people will probably have that I will think are 100% reasonable and accurate, even though I didn't initially have them. It's one of those things. So I don't know if that's a satisfactory answer, but there you go. Icor, he's talking about the 5th map of in Consummate, the Fleet Beacon that you can destroy as a bonus objective. Whoa. I gotta stop doing that. Also, welcome, Iceware. How you hanging? It's so impossible to tell if this is dirt or it's meant to be part of the temple. Whatever. I can make tweaks as I go on once I start adding new tiles in if something looks off or whatever. And it probably will. It's just how these things work. You gotta tinker with them a few times. Yeah, well, there's actually a lot of really subtle things that I always attempt to do with storytelling, and I think it's one of the few instances that I can think of anyways, where you'll see stuff like symbols of power or stuff like that, that are referenced deliberately to make you feel like there's supposed to be a sense of scale. I tried to make the story rhyme with itself a little bit, where you'll run into this theme, and you'll think, oh, I feel like I've seen something similar to this before. This seems familiar. And I wanted it to almost be an eerie sense of familiarity, too. I wanted it to be like, players would play it, and for the first time they might not notice it, but if they go back and play it again, they'll notice like, oh wait, it's almost like this was foreshadowed by an event that, or this foreshadows an event that I know happens in the future now. Like setting up for something that remains internally consistent throughout the narrative. It's something I've spent a fair bit of time researching, and I'm looking to improve in future installments. And you could probably just tell based on the naming schemes or the name conventions. Like, there's some references to Blizzard maps, but when I release in Consummate Sequel, you're gonna see some interesting similarities in terms, or like themes that are played around with that are almost references to in Consummate maps in terms of their titles alone. And that's important to me because I feel like map titles or chapter titles of like a book or something are really underrated in terms of their importance and their significance. You'll see a lot of stories where I think distilling your theme or whatever thematic you're going for down to like a few words is a really useful talent to have when you're doing storytelling. It's like a skill that you have to develop. So when I have a title like Sins of the Follower, I mean, the whole point is to make it so that you don't... I don't want players to just look at this and think, oh, this is a map title. You know, like, this map titles are a dime a dozen, and maybe it's got cool flair to it. It's got a dramatic flair. Maybe you think it's a little edgy or something, but the whole point of the map title is to make you think. Like, to condition the player into thinking, oh, what does this map title mean? What is, what are the sins of the follower, or who is the follower, or who are the followers? What are their sins? You know, these are questions I wanted to have people start asking. I don't know if I was very successful with it, but even if they're only thinking about it subconsciously, it's like a very deliberate decision on my end to put a lot of power into those titles and a lot of thoughts into them. And it'll contribute to the idea that you're making the story rhyme with itself. When you have instances like... what was it? Like, an instance I don't mind shedding light on and making obvious is... well, have you actually played the 6th map yet? Or have you seen Jay Barrino's playthrough of it? Would I be spoiling anything if I discussed map 6 of Inconsummate? Because that's a comparison between that and the 3rd map is a pretty obvious. Sense of it rhyming, I feel. Nice. Well, in map 3 of Inconsummate, Sins of the Follower, you play, or just regarding Goska specifically, Goska fights alongside the Zerg against Terrans to destroy starports. In map 6, Goska fights alongside the Terrans against Zerg to kill spires. Like, that's an example where even the objectives of the missions themselves play into this idea of the story rhyming with itself and the gameplay rhyming with itself. Like, it's a very different map than... You know, those two are very distinct maps, but the objectives are very much mirrored in some capacity. And it's like deliberate instances of character arcs coming to a close in similar ways, and all of the tension of a particular story element coming to a head around the same time, and in ways that sort of mirror each other. It's like very deliberate. And, the fuck? Why is this even here? This is just a random jungle thing. Get it out of here. I don't want to make it seem like I'm patting myself on the back too much. I just feel like that was an instance where my vision for Inconsummate storytelling was fairly successful. And that's an area where I want to improve upon as well in the future. See what else what more I can accomplish. Alongside that line of logic, I guess. Yeah, it's a little unfortunate that I wasn't able to... I have this, like, fear that if I cast somebody else as a main character in one of my campaigns, that eventually that person would not be available for one reason or another to reprise their role in a future installment. Like, imagine if Gosk had a different voice actor than myself, and then I'm now working on a consummate sequel, right? And then I get to the point where, okay, I've actually done I've put together these scripts, because I always put together like 3 or 4 scripts for individual missions before I make a casting call and contact voice actors and say, hey, I'm interested in hiring you for this role. And I'm not able to pay them much, but I do pay them a little bit. Like, I think in Consummate's voice acting budget was around $60. And I hired 4 voice actors. So that was pretty reasonable, I guess. Or maybe it was a little bit, it might have been like $70, $75. Because I think I had to pay somebody twice because they did more lines than initially anticipated. But in general, that's like... a fear of mine is, like, I'll contact that person, I'll be like, hey, really liked your work with Goska, I'm doing a sequel, when do you think you'd be able to do these lines? And they'd just be like, sorry, I'm not available, or just be completely gone, like, never reply to me at all because they're just off the, you know, they're off the what is the term? They're off the... I don't know, they're off the something. They're out of my head. They're off the dictionary, in fact. I can't even find a word to describe what they are, but they're just out. You know, they're out there somewhere in the wilderness, and I can't find them and get them to do the voice acting. And then now, suddenly, I have to find somebody else who can maybe impersonate that. Like, I don't want to be put in that position with the main character, so... I'm very guarded with that idea. Oops. And as a result, I wound up voicing most of the lines that you'll hear. I think I must have had like something like 50 voice acted lines that weren't from me, and I don't know what the figures of actual lines of dialogue are in Consummate 6 missions, but I'm sure it's over like 300 or 400. So a very good percentage were me, for sure. Oh, I'm being dogged. Alright, let's get some more techno music on, I guess. Hey, I'm live now. Let's watch my own stream. Where the fuck? Oh, here we go. Hey, you'll be happy to know I am planning a minor update to Inconsummate, mostly because of the 5th map, where I'm going to smooth out some of Tuzor's issues and then make all of the AI, including Tuzor, become a lot more aggressive. And yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I'm actually going to make Tuzor be able to build hero units, like the Kakulza Mutalisk, the Tarask, and the Hunter-Killer. And he'll use, his brood will use a few of them in some of the later stage attacks. Otherwise, I don't really know what the fuck the plans are yet. But I wanted to make the mission feel even more grand scale than it already did. It's probably mostly unnecessary, honestly, but if I'm updating it, I might as well. I'm sort of looking for like a reason to justify the update, because I was all set on not updating it again, given the nature of the last update, which was supposed to be the actual final update of the entire project. But it should serve to make the map a little bit even, you know, just more grand scale, I guess. Which I won't say no to. Though I don't really know how interactive it'll be for the player at that point. If Tuzor is going to be way better, or significantly more improved than he currently is, I would worry about making the player feel irrelevant. Like, Tuzor's attacks are scaled up so he can deal with the Protoss being more difficult, but the player doesn't get any immediate buffs, so I don't even know what I would do there. Yeah, the volunteer thing is a little bit rough to work with, since you always want high quality, but if you can't pay them, or you can't pay them well, then it's like, who are, you know, beggars can't be choosers kind of deal. That's why I decided I would pay people, because even if it's a small amount, they usually put more effort into it if they know they're getting $15 at the end of it or something for... I mean, I make it really easy for people who are voice acting for me. I record all of the lines in my own voice, in the sort of mannerisms or state of emotions that I want the lines delivered in. So I give them like an enunciation and voice delivery guide for exactly how I want the lines done. Like, because basically, if I could just change my voice enough to sound like a different person, I wouldn't need anybody else. I know exactly how I want the transmissions to sound, exactly how I want them delivered. I don't need anybody else except to actually use their voice. If I could just copy people's voices or something, then I would not need to hire anybody else, and that would be good for me, since obviously it would save me money. But obviously, in the interest rather of not being every transmission and it being repetitive in that sense, it obviously becomes pretty important to diversify the voice cast. So I give people a lot of what they need to do. You know, I'm pretty good to people. I don't think I was ever unreasonable. If I asked for retakes, it was, you know, within reason, I think. Nobody's ever complained, certainly, at least not directly. So I hope that even though the pay may have been meager, it wasn't a completely miserable experience for them. That's all I can say. As far as morphing Kakulzas into hero Mutalisks and Devours, I actually have asked that question on a modding site, so hopefully I will get a good answer here that I can implement, because I would like to have the Kakulzas morph into like hero Devours and hero Guardians, and the same for Hunter Killers into hero Lurkers, which may not be super useful in the current map, since Lurkers are only really ever used for base defense and not for aggression, at least in the playthroughs that I've seen and in my own personal experience. But giving the player more options isn't necessarily a bad thing in this case, even if they don't wind up being super useful. I do want to give players the tool there, and that would make Kakulzas more useful as well. In the meantime, I've lowered their gas and mineral costs by 25 and made them build 5 in-game seconds faster. Or maybe it's 5 real seconds. I don't know what the values are in the modding tools. But that's more of like a minor balance change to make it so that they feel less ridiculous to just... like, it's not as ridiculous to justify using them at all. I don't know if the AI will ever be able to even if I fix it for players so that the players can train what was it? Like, even if I make it so that Kakulzas can morph into Guardians and Devours, I don't know if the AI will actually ever work like that. You can make the AI train hero units and stuff, and different units than what are default. Like, you can make the AI train Ursidon if you make Ursidon buildable by the barracks or something, which is really goofy. It sounds hilarious. But aside from that, I don't, like, there's probably some hard-coded nonsense going on with the morph command. So I'm sure it would be ridiculous to try and make work. Latin American voice actors, $15 would be a fortune. Well, yeah, you know, that's really weird. I'm actually, Necron, the guy I'm working on the co-op project with, is from Poland. And he's like, he talked about how, like, a conversion of, like, $4 in US dollars would be really expensive for something in Poland. And I'm like, what, are you kidding? That's cheaper than some of the drinks I get at the store. So I don't know, man. I guess depending on what country you're from. I might be a millionaire there if I moved over. You know? So Jay Barino has a fairly vocal audience. I don't know if you guys are in the majority, but it seems like he's got a fairly vocal audience of South American and Latin American viewers. Like, I know he's got Popu Trash and Vastan X, I think, are from Chile. And I don't know where you're from. Gorgaz sort of doesn't really count, but he's from Spain. So I don't know, that's interesting. Oh, I'm getting vibrated now. I wonder what for. Wonder if it's another weather alert to let me know how sunny it's going to be. My phone used to do that a lot before I disabled that. Oh no, it's just Facebook. Get it out of here. capsaicin? Did I mispronounce that? Probably. And are you working on a campaign in Blizzard's RTS games, or are you you're just working on Age of Empires stuff? Because I remember we were talking about that the last time I streamed. Cool. From what I remember you saying, there's not really the biggest community there, but is the campaign going to be in a language other than English? Oh, that's pretty neat. I'm surprised that's crazy that nobody's made... I remember playing Age of Empires 3. I'm very surprised that nobody's made a custom campaign for that game. Or maybe I played Age 2. I don't know. I played one of those games. It's when I was really young, so it's probably Age 2, I guess. But I never got the feeling that there wouldn't be... It's so bizarre that custom campaigns are almost completely limited to Blizzard titles, you know? Nobody's really attempted them for the other RTSs that are out there. At least not to my knowledge. It's gonna be in English. Well, if you like, I can probably do some voice acting for it. I won't even bill you. I don't know how far along you are in development, but for whenever you're looking for recording the actual voices, just let me know. Nice.
We sit in the sun, in haze, we sleep, and we dream. Each of us dying slowly in the prison of our minds. We sit in the sun, in haze, we sleep, and we dream. Each of us dying slowly in the prison of our minds.
Why are all these black dots here? This doesn't make sense. Whoa! That's not where I want you. I'm sorry, that was probably racist or something. It's a good question, song. Too tough for me. I'll ask the viewers. Or viewers singular. Oh, hey, it's D-Sir. Thanks, man. I've been working on my hair. Oh, what a disaster. You know what the real disaster is going to be? Me piecing these tiles together when in SEM draft after I've actually completed the fucking modifications. Yeah, see? My homie Jerome knows what's up. Why do songs do that? They just add yes. Random affirmations and grunts and shotgun sounds. You know what? We should listen to trap. That would really liven me up. I don't even mind trap. I think it's great. Wowee.
Is it a new world, or will it consume us all?
Hey, I still don't have an answer for your question, dude. You keep asking me that. Maybe you should ask Jerome. He'll just say, yeah. You know? Jerome's my boy. Whoa! Alright, cool. It's good enough, I guess.
We sit, the sun invades. We sleep.
Hey, Vorguys. Can you punch D, sir, for insulting me?
The prison of our mind.
I know it's an odd request to ask of you as soon as you get in the door, but...
We sleep. And we dream.
Whoa! We're drawing some weird pixel art here, boys. We're drawing pixel art while cutting pixels off of pixel art. It's a simulation. Oh, I'm not even halfway done. This is a disaster. An unmitigated one. Funk wave.
It's a fusion of jazz and funk. It's called a quote from a Blue Sky Studios movie that nobody remembers besides the fact that it had the word anime in its script a few times.
It's my favorite quote from that movie. Has Jay Barino ever talked about anime on his streams or videos? You could probably ask for Rabbinicus. That guy seems to know everything there is to know about Jay Barino's streams, especially if they involve Halo Wars 2. He's very enthusiastic about his support for Halo Wars 2. Why are there black dots everywhere? It's so weird. Am I supposed to cut them? It's where you can play that satyr sound from Warcraft 3.
You cut me!
Why does he sound like that, by the way? He's supposed to be this, like, goat demon or something. And he just sounds like Metzen didn't drink enough coffee in the morning or something.
Now what? You cut me!
Like, I didn't cut you. I clicked on you. Is that actually what he thinks is happening? He gets clicked on and he thinks he's being cut? Man, that demonic possession actually results in a lot of mental illness that nobody talks about, I guess. It's the only explanation. They smoke too much? Maybe they're that's why they're always saying that you cut them, because they're really paranoid. They had a few too many edibles. I know next to nothing about weed. I haven't smoked any of it. Well, I guess I have technically, but it didn't have any effect on me. People try to fishbowl me a few times. That didn't work either, though. But weed is a meme or something, so I guess it's hip and cool. So I gotta pretend that I'm a meme smoker, you know? Oh, man deer, yeah. That's my character's name. Why is he a deer? I actually love deer emoji. They're way better than real deer. I like to eat deer. I think I've had deer all of once in my life, but it was pretty good. I would like it more often. But good luck affording that when you're me. Whoa. Stop it, me. This is a lot harder than it looks, guys. Okay. Amazing. Why is that guy's name Deer? What a deer. Oops. Ah, deer. Man deer and fell dead. Any of you guys ever played... Oh, shit. That was a pretty timely Man, this mix has all the... It has the yeah from my boy. I forget his name. That's how much of my boy he is. And then has that guy screaming. And then there's that old white dude asking that question about the space-time continuum or something. Yeah. You're talking about Brood War?
Oh god, he's coming back! Get out of here!
It's a lot of menial labor, but... It's, you don't need to be super technically skilled or anything to do it. Should be fairly simple to do a step-by-step guide on it or whatever. But it's not like a 5-second affair, even if you have all the assets at your disposal. Don't say that. As far as the process goes, it's not super complicated. I'll have to figure out how to do it somewhat, to explain it somewhat concisely, but other than that, it shouldn't be terribly difficult to put together. Oh shit, this is a remix of that really famous Clint Mansell song. Or album, I guess. It involves a string that's used all the time. From The Fountain. Man, that's a good-ass soundtrack. It's a good-ass movie from what I heard too, but I haven't seen that. Just listen to the soundtrack a lot. No, I didn't think Devouring ones were really going to be super impactful. And also at that point, since I had yet to discover the utility of using hard-coded player colors for the heroes and using transmission the transmission trigger action along with the Z rescue sound effect to simulate acquiring, like rescuing a unit. I was also using Devouring ones that had been modified to not have a graphic in order to rescue units for the player. So Devouring ones in the campaign don't actually have, or in the mod rather, they don't have a graphic. They have a blank frame for their graphic. I could obviously fix this and revert it, but I didn't really think devouring ones were super useful in that mission, so I decided against it. Might be something I add back in, or maybe I make a clone of the devouring one unit for Tuzor to build or something, but a lot of the, all of the heroes, and including the hero units you can train from Tuzor, are actually have their player colors set in directly in the GRP, which is what I mean by hard-coded player colors, where I override the magenta team color. So, wow, holy shit. Also, if you ever open up the any map with any jungle, well, actually any map in general with the inc editor.mpq that I have listed there, if you use SEMDref to add that to a profile at that MPQ, you can open the maps and see all the extended tiles and stuff. One of the things you'll probably wind up finding if you ever do that is I actually replaced some of the extended player colors with some custom player colors that I designed. There's like a gray. There's like a few of them, I think. I never wound up using them, but they were going to be used for the unfinished 7th mission, where you played as Phoenix. I think I talked about that in my interview. Oh man, I'm still not even halfway done. What a disaster. This is gonna take me forever. I probably won't finish this today. I'll probably get like halfway done with it and then come back to it, because my back is starting to hurt from having a shit posture. I'm an old man. If you're changing wireframes, I'll show you real quick. So let me find my wireframe folder. Oops. Okay, so did you download the Python modding suite? From the link that Necron provided you the other day? Oh shit. Okay. Excuse me. All right. Let me go ahead and grab a link here for you. So that link should send you to my thread about modding programs. It lists all of the programs that you'll need to mod Brood War 1.16 or Remastered. And it has a step-by-step guide for installing things like the files you need to download and everything else. You might have to do EXE edits or something for transports. I don't really remember how they work. Well, was your mod file an EXE or was it an MPQ? Before, when it was the one that got corrupted just now. Oh shit, Yggdrasil! I never would have even thought about that. There is a hero transport in the game. Wow, that's funny. Good thinking. Do you have an error message when you try to run it? I have so much further to go. Alright, I'm gonna call that one a day. Close that out. Yeah, Tim was the Bob leveler. Iquare made the Reaver Menace. Salvation, Salvation 2. Vorgaz made Rise of Devour's Children and Fire It Up. And Insurrection Remastered. What do you guys think of the Reaver Menace? I'm going to do an impromptu recording session here. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Pronogo here, bringing you a tutorial on how to modify Brood Wars wireframes. This tutorial should also work for StarCraft Remastered once we get an anim compiler, because anim.anim is the file extension for Remastered's files, but until then, we'll be stuck just viewing it on 1.16. You can check startit.net for any updates regarding the anim compiler and any other advancements we make for Remastered modding. But this is at least going to cover the Brood War side of things. The first thing you're going to want to do is install the Python modding suite, which is linked in the description of the video. Once you have that installed, you can open up PyMPQ and find your... I guess I'll do this on camera as well. We can go to my installation here. We'll open up the right file here, PyMPQ. We can go to our StarCraft directory where you've installed StarCraft and just find brewdat.mpq should be it. Let's see if we can find it here. Scroll all the way down to the bottom, find unit/wireframe is the directory, and we can select all three of these files, hit this nifty little extract file button. I don't think Control-E works right now. The developer of PyMPQ is still updating all of the programs, so your hotkeys may not work depending on when you download the program. We extract them, we put them somewhere. I've already got them unpacked here. Then you can use PyGRP to open up the wireframe files themselves. If all you're trying to do is take the wireframe of an existing unit, say the Wraith, like I've got selected here, and replace like the wireframe of an unused unit, like one of those blank wireframes, because you've converted one of those unit entries into a Wraith hero or a Wraith variant, then all you need to do is, once you unpack and extract all of these frames by hitting this this button here, it looks the same as the other button we hit, Export Selected Frames, you can go into this folder here, this wireframe folder, and here's the Wraith one. Say we were replacing unit ID 14. I don't remember what it is. It might be like Nuke or something. So we can just delete this image and make a copy of the Wraith image. I don't know why I put us all the way back here. Nice OS Windows. And then wireframe, just remember the number basically in sequence. And wireframe 0014, just rename it to whatever the ID was of the one that you deleted. And now, whatever unit ID 14 is, will have the Wraith wireframe. So it's as simple as that. You just do that for tran wire, which is for when units are in transports, which isn't necessary for air units and buildings. And GRP wire, which is when units are selected, which also shouldn't be necessary for buildings and other entities that have the single entity box checked. I think there are group wireframes for the critters, even though they have that single entity box checked in units.dat, but that's more of an advanced thing. You probably don't need to worry about that. If you're just making a normal unit, you want all three of these. Unless it's an air unit, then you don't need to worry about tran wire. Once this is done, you can open up PyGRP again. We can go ahead and make a new GRP. We can import some frames, and let's just select every frame in here, hit open, it'll compile them all, and then you just save as wireframe 2. Well, you want it to be the same file name as wireframe.grp, and then when you import it into your mod file using pympq, just make sure to use wireframe unit/wireframe/ when importing the file, and then the game will read it correctly. So that's literally all you need to do. It's very simple. Just remember to make sure that if you're making a new wireframe, to use the proper pallets. I guess I'll try and find where my pallets are located and zip them and put them on Mega, and then I'll leave a link in the description for those as well. In case you're making your own wireframes from scratch, you can go ahead and download that in the description below, and that will help you when you're finally using Photoshop, like in the background of this image, to put together like a new wireframe from scratch. Like anything that you might see in a Total Conversion or one of those other Brood War mods. So the process should be fairly simple, rather fairly similar in Remastered. When we finally get something like that, I'll probably just release an updated tutorial video where I go over everything all over again, and then whatever special steps you need to do for if you're doing it for Remastered. Thanks for checking the video out. Hope it was helpful. Leave a comment below if you have any other questions, and I'll do my best to clarify. All right, so there you go. That's the wireframe tutorial. I'll upload that now. And hopefully that's answers your question, Vorgaz. You need Python imaging library or Pillow. The link that I sent earlier has a link to the 32-bit and 64-bit versions of Python 2.7.12, which is the version you should be using, depending on what type machine you are. It's 32-bit or it's what the fuck? It's one or the other, basically. So I don't know which one is more accurate for you. Python imaging library should be accessible from that link as well. It's this link. They both need to be the same version, like 32-bit. Or like I think there's a compatibility error if you install like 64-bit Python but 32-bit Python imaging library. So make sure that they're like the same thing. You don't need Pillow if you have Python imaging library. They're just alternatives. Like, they're two of the same thing. It basically just shows images using Python, or it enables it. They both work for the Python modding suite. This tool, or tool set, I guess, is the most complicated one to set up for Brood War modding, just because it requires a couple of extra files. Okay. What were you using to make the EXE? Was it the latest version of Firegraft, or was it an older one? Oh, okay. With PyDat and... Well, I don't know if you've used the... If you downloaded the 0.94 version of Firegraft, which has a few extra EXE edits and stuff. That might be more useful to you, I don't know. Okay. What else is there? Should I update anything else? I can't really bring myself to... work any further on things like the temple thing. It really gets me. So from, let me see. It's hard to know immediately what, well, maybe it's not. Hold on, let me see what happens. So when you start Firegraft and you click past the, if the loading screen is like the the green one, then obviously it's an older version. Like if your loading screen isn't, hold on, I'll put it on my stream. If it isn't this, then you're running an older version. This one is what it looks like, what the most up-to-date version of it looks like. I don't know why it looks like this. Some Korean guy made it. Yeah. So I would grab 094 from that link. I guess I could make another siege tank. Let me just update some buildings really quickly, and then we'll get right on that. Oh. I'm not sure if there are EXE edits for controlling which subunit the Gantrathor uses. If possible, that would be really nice. But I don't know if how feasible that is. That would certainly be something that's only possible, at least currently, on 1.16. Not something that you'd be able to do in Remastered. Let's compare and contrast here. What the fuck? There we go. I feel like it looks a lot more weathered now. There's a couple areas that I'd like to continue to work with. This area over here.
can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen.
You know what they say. Ah, the Supreme Being. It's interesting that iQuare classes The Reaver Menace as a comedy campaign when he makes such a... It feels like, to me, he seems to go to great lengths to characterize certain aspects of the story as serious. At least there seem to be a lot of serious undertones to it. I could be wrong about that, but... Bumping. Carpenter. What a guy. I'm not generally a fan of fourth wall break moments. I think they can be good, but generally speaking, the ones that have been notable to me have somehow, despite breaking the fourth wall, advanced my immersion in the storytelling, or advanced the like some narrative or theme. I guess maybe... I don't know if iQuare is still watching. I imagine he is, because he hasn't chatted in a while. But... to me, anyways, I feel like a lot of people use the "it's a joke" campaign, or "it's a joke story," or a comedic story as like almost like a cop-out to for an excuse to not have to really put a lot of effort into it. And this is coming from a guy... I'm very surprised in Consummate was my first completed campaign. I think most of the campaign concepts I've come up with that have actually turned into like several maps and I've made progress on but never finished have been comedic projects. So I'm not like against comedy campaigns. In fact, I'm very much for them, and I'm glad to see more people attempting them and doing them. Like, it actually, Rise of Devour's Children was the first comedic project that I had seen showcased in years. So I was very surprised that it hasn't been, that genre of campaigns hasn't been, like, mined out more or explored further. And I think it could be... developed way better. And explored way further. Just like, I feel like there's a lot of potential there. So, I don't know. I don't know what you guys think about that, but... I am in general surprised that we don't see more of that stuff. Oh, that's what that is. What a confusing graphic this is. There we go. Now I think we're talking. Cooking with gas, as they say. Alright. I'm actually gonna call it. Yeah. It's a pretty productive stream, I guess. I'm gonna hang with Necron and we're gonna discuss some co-op stuff, so hopefully in a few weeks we'll be able to launch that first campaign. Thanks for hanging. And I'll see you guys next time.